你自己看。你们到底想干什么？你们啊！我不要给你把那什么东西都搞走，躺在地上那个拿走。可不能啊！你不这边的说不要我干了，你们搞的就把我免了算了，叫我滚蛋，滚下！不敢跟我这样说。我没有闹，这边藏那么多怎么办？
叫他们院长过来看看。
院长谁过来？
你让病人去跟。
没用，我去了。
把主站抬了。
啊？我不知道哪个是院长，我去了，我连1、2、3、4、5、4长热线都打了。
不要医生，我不要医生，我有医生，我打死了讲，我能看病，你把那个病人。
高烧39度4天，然后在我们医院看发热门诊那一刻，开药没有药，下来退卡发脾气。
看摘下口罩咳嗽呢，
故意对着里面咳嗽。
我
没有药，下来退卡发脾气。
看摘下口罩咳嗽呢，
故意对着里面咳嗽。
我
高烧39度4天。
来，看一看排队的人这记录。你现在是郑州县的排队。
打着他那个标志。
看一下他们这排队的情况。
高烧39。高烧。
王艳华，我爱你，我爱你。
高烧。
The story is making headlines. The travel sector expecting heavy losses from fears about the new coronavirus outbreak. Offshore gaming operations may face regulation or possible suspension over their supposed involvement in the rise of prostitution dens. And actress Nadine Lustre faces yet another breakup controversy, this time with her longtime talent agency. Good evening, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Welcome to the newsroom. More than 100 deaths, thousands of infections from the new coronavirus in China. Here at home, the number of persons under investigation has more than doubled from yesterday, but no confirmed cases yet. Our Trisha Tarada tells us how the government is preparing.
From 27 suspected cases, the number of people under investigation for novel coronavirus is down to 24 as of Tuesday afternoon. Yesterday, there were 11 cases, then the numbers more than doubled. Here's the breakdown. 18 suspected cases in Metro Manila, 3 in Western Visayas, 3 in Central Visayas, 1 in Eastern Visayas, 1 in Mimaropa, and 1 in Northern Mindanao. Out of 27, 3 have been medically cleared.
First was the patient from Cebu who was diagnosed negative for nCoV 2019 and is asymptomatic. And then 2 other patients who have now no illness, and the test showed that it was some other pathogen, some other virus.
So far, there are no confirmed nCoV cases in the Philippines. The local government is making sure it doesn't make its way to the country, or if it does, they are prepared at the very least. There's now an interagency task force on emerging infectious diseases. It's made up of several agencies: Foreign Affairs, Interior Department, Justice, Labor, Tourism, Transportation, Information and Communications Technology, and of course, Health leading the group. Present during its first meeting were Overseas Filipino Workers Affairs and airport representatives. They have agreed to ensure support for OFWs in China. They will undergo a 14-day quarantine. Health authorities have already prepared a quarantine facility for easier management. The Foreign Affairs Department says there are at least 300 Filipinos in Hubei.
For Filipinos who wish to stay in China, DOH reiterates adherence to advisories and cooperation with public health activities being done by local authorities.
As of Tuesday afternoon, the number of confirmed nCoV cases has increased to more than 4,500 cases globally with 106 deaths. This now accounts for less than 3% mortality rate, while there are over 900 reported severe cases. World Health Organization says the risk of the virus spreading in China is very high, while in regional and global levels, it's classified as a high risk. Even then, authorities do not see the need for a voluntary quarantine for all passengers from affected countries coming into the Philippines.
That would mean that you have to quarantine people coming from 36 countries, right? So what we are trying to do is our risk assessments are focused at minimizing disruption of social life and minimizing the risk to the community.
Health experts say there's also no need to wear masks throughout the day.
If you're visiting somebody in a healthcare facility, you're visiting a crowded place, a wet market, you may want to wear a mask.
They're urging the public to remain vigilant, practice good hygiene, observe proper cough etiquette, maintain distance from people manifesting flu-like symptoms, and cook food properly. Trisha Tarada, CNN Philippines.
The House of Representatives has approved a motion asking Health Secretary Francisco Duque to appear at the plenary tomorrow for a question hour. Duque is expected to answer questions about the coronavirus threat. China sending additional medical teams to Hubei province, where Wuhan, the origin of the novel coronavirus, is located. Hospitals there are struggling to cope with the rising number of patients and depleting supplies. Almost 2,000 personnel will now help some 4,000 medical staff stationed in main cities. Officials say the infection rate of the virus has accelerated, with 4,515 cases and 106 deaths in mainland China. 15 cities are still under a lockdown to prevent the further spread of the disease. Number at 14 after 6 more were confirmed today. Hong Kong, which has 8 infections, will temporarily close some borders with China and stop issuing travel permits to mainland Chinese tourists. Japan now has 6 confirmed cases. The new patient is a Japanese man who has no travel history to Wuhan, but he drove tour groups from Wuhan for 9 days. Philippine Ambassador to China, Chito Santaromana, says Filipinos in China who want to come home should weigh the impact of their decision. Meanwhile, a Filipino professor studying in Wuhan also has this advice for those who choose to stay put.
Because as far as our university is concerned, no one has contracted the virus yet inside the university. If I go out and try to, because from the university to the airport is quite a distance.
Right.
So there is risk there. If I would venture into going back to the Philippines, yung palang travel from the school to the airport, there's already the risk. And of course, additional burden in a sense, and cause people anxiety if I go back to the Philippines and possibly carry whatever virus.
About 30 to 50 indicated that they were willing to be evacuated. Now the question is we have to ask them to consider everything and whether they're determined to be evacuated so that we could make the final plan.
What do you say, Ambassador, that it might be better for them to stay?
That was a point raised by the DOH experts. And the Chinese government also had a press conference yesterday. They were making that point. And now the Director General of WHO, who's visiting Beijing after hearing all the briefings, has been basically saying there is no need to think carefully, and once they make a decision, they should weigh the risk. Even when they're here, it won't be back to the family right away, of course.
Catch the full interview on the replay of Politics as usual. That's tomorrow at 11:30 a.m., Saturday 7 p.m., and Sunday 12:30 p.m. The Immigration Bureau temporarily suspending the issuance of visa upon arrival, or VUA, for Chinese nationals. The VUA is granted to businessmen, athletes, convention delegates, and tour operators of Chinese tourists because tour groups often obtain the VUA. However, he clarifies there is no directive to bar Chinese nationals. He explains the suspension will help prevent the entry of the new coronavirus. A number of travel agencies feeling the pinch brought about by the coronavirus scare. Some say they expect heavy losses as a number of Chinese tourists have canceled trips to Boracay until May. The Immigration Bureau says Chinese nationals accounted for a fifth of the 7.5 million foreign visitors nationwide from January to November last year.
Panic mode, that is, maybe to the worst. We are very much negative about it. We are very much afraid about it because according from the reports that we have received just this afternoon, coming from a DOSM of a very popular resort in Boracay, it is as much as between 70 to 80% cancellation.
A cruise ship with over 700 passengers returning to Hong Kong tomorrow. The World Dream cruise ship docked at the Manila South Harbor this morning. It was scheduled to proceed to Subic in Zambales tonight before the trip was canceled. A second ship, MV Ligulao, arrived from China on Monday. The Coast Guard says both were authorized by the Bureau of Quarantine and cleared to travel. The mayors of Olongapo City and Subic appealed to the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, or SBMA, to stop accepting cruise ships until the virus has been contained. However, the SBMA says the health department has not advised them to ban ships. Meantime, Malacanang points out there may be legal complications in stopping the entry of tourists who are virus-free.
Why? Meron bang mga tao doon na may sakit? Afflicted? Kung wala naman, may stopin. Kung wala naman sakit, anong magiging basis mo? No. Legal basis mo to stop them from coming over.
We now speak with SBMA Chairman and Administrator Wilma Aisma. Good evening, Attorney.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you today.
Now, were you informed about this cruise ship with 700 passengers that's supposedly bound for Subic, and already it canceled its trip and now it's going back to Hong Kong?
Government in the last 3 days. I am not a politician, so I don't make promises I cannot keep. so I didn't talk about this news until I was sure that it will happen. Until 2:30 in the afternoon today, I was in a conference call with Genting Lines, who owns Envivo Street, chief agent and various government officials to discuss on how Genting Lines could proceed. And I was very fortunate that Genting Lines themselves decided that it is best for everybody that they, instead of going to Subic, it's for them to go back to Hong Kong, which is their market of origin. I'd like to reiterate that the ship is already in Manila. They docked this morning, so they are in the Philippine territory. And that's why I have always been saying that Manila said yes, why should it be not? And I would like to believe, and I continue to believe, with the efficiency and the skills of our department itself, Bureau of Forestry.
Bright
They
kayo
know how
ngayon,
to
Chick
do their
Boy.
job, they know what
Kaya,
they're doing.
di sila pwede,
So,
di sila
I
pwede
honestly
ipakuan.
believe that
Di
there
sila
are
pwede sa
cases
aeroplano.
of positive,
Nagbarko.
for this virus
Sunod sa Pinas.
by our Bureau of Forestry. And this is even happening
Ha?
even before the virus discussion of the virus.
Nagbarko
This is
eh,
a
wala
standard
nagkuan.
international procedure that is
Akala.
being followed for over the ports of air, seaports of air.
Meron,
However,
ano?
having said that, that's almost an academic now, because the shipliners themselves are the ones who made the decision not to come in here,
Okay, they themselves.
understanding the circumstances on the ground.
Okay, they themselves decided. Now, but let's clarify, ma'am, is there an order banning cruise ships from docking in Subic in the wake of this coronavirus scare?
Right now, there's no need to ban them because there's nobody coming. They've already canceled already given us a feedback that they're not coming for February and March. So I would assume that until this coronavirus issue, nobody will come because right now, how can they come if there's no visa that's going to be issued for the visitation? So it's all about the setup.
Ma'am, if we're looking at a prolonged coronavirus scare, how will this impact tourism in Subic?
That's a question that you can answer. Of course, it will impact all of us, not just in Subic, but the whole Philippines. Manage the impact of this coronavirus with the economy as a country and not just with Subic.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for talking to us, Attorney Wilma Aisma of the SBMA.
Thank you very much.
You're in the newsroom on CNN Philippines. Residents of Agoncillo in Batangas have begun cleaning up their ash-covered homes. And a lawmaker wants